On September 28th, the Commission on Poverty announced a poverty line set at 50% of the median household income in Hong Kong. It's the first time that Hong Kong has set a poverty line. Chief Secretary for Administration Carrie Lam Yuet-ngor, who also chairs the Commission on Poverty, explains the need for introducing the measure.
The setting of a poverty line for the first time in Hong Kong demonstrates this political commitment of the SAR administration to tackle this rather deep-seated problem of poverty in Hong Kong. Now, there are three functions of drawing up a poverty line. First, it enables us to have a much better understanding of the poor population in Hong Kong, and based on which we could also do a lot more analysis of the characteristics, the economic status, the household size of these poor families. The second function of the poverty line is to enable us to formulate more appropriate policies, because we have to realize that public resources are always limited. So we should be able to find a way to spend the public money in the most targeted way to help the poor. And the third purpose of the poverty line is for evaluation, because every government would actually like to know the effectiveness of its policy interventions. And this applies also to poverty relief policy.
Due to the statistics, among the 1.02 million poor population below the poverty line, about 300,000 are elders aged 65 or over. At the same time, there are 208,000 children under 18 who are also below the poverty line. According to Carrie Lam, the priority of more government assistance should go to the children, and she explains why.
Children are in need of special attention because we really do not want to see what we call this intergenerational poverty. So it's not just one generation being poor, but the second generation, the third generation are also caught below the poverty line. The reason being, in respect of the elderly, there are several factors we need to take into account. One is the poverty line only measures income, but it has no bearing whatsoever on the assets. And another survey of the Census and Statistics Department shows that many of the poor elders, when asked, they would indicate that they do not have any need for financial assistance. So probably they are what we call the asset-rich, income-poor people. The second reason is the statistics that we are now compiling reflect the situation up to 2012. It has not taken into account the effect of the old age living allowance, which was introduced in April this year. So I feel that we should wait to see the effect of the old age living allowance. Thirdly is poor elderly normally is a phenomenon related to retirement protection. So under the Commission on Poverty, we have commissioned Professor Nelson Chow and his study team to do a research study for us on the current provisions for retirement protection and what are the options if we wish to enhance the retirement protection. So because of these three reasons, I would put elderly slightly behind children in terms of our assistance measures.
After the drawing of the poverty line, the next step is to devise more appropriate poverty alleviation measures. By figuring out the category called working poor, Carrie Lam says the government and some political groups are discussing offering a low-income supplement.
At the moment, Hong Kong already has a safety net in the form of comprehensive social security assistance scheme, which is assisting almost 260,000 families. So in this analysis, based on the poverty line, we observe that there is a rather sizable category called the working poor. Okay? So these are households who are below the poverty line in terms of their household income. But they are working people. So it's not because of unemployment, it's not because of working short hours that they are caught below the poverty line. But they have tried their best to work full-time, but still not able to manage to earn enough to support their family. Further analysis indicates that these working poor families, normally are of larger size. 84% of these working poor families have a household size of 3 persons or more, whereas the number of people earning from job is about, on average, 1.1. This is a measure that has been advocated by some social organizations like the Hong Kong Council of Social Service, Oxfam, and other political groups. Basically, it falls in line with the target that I have just mentioned, that the low-income supplement aims to help those families who are in employment but who have not earned enough to support their household. But how to structure the low-income supplement, and what are the rates, and what are the asset tests and income tests, or these are all the details that we need to work out. And that's why I have invited all those groups who have an interest in poverty alleviation, and all the political groups in Legislative Council to sort of give us their proposals in the coming 2 or 3 months, especially during the consultations of the Chief Executive for his 2014 policy address, so that we could also take into account their views in designing a proposal to help the low-income families.